Hello, everybody. It's Shanta Thomas, and today I am going to be talking to you all about why women are scaling to six figures faster using tax planning. So, I'm going to give you just a couple minutes to come in, and while you do that, um, I'm going to give you a countdown. Hey, so it's me, Shanta Thomas. Today we're going to be talking about why women are scaling to six figures faster through tax planning. So I'm going to give you a few quick tips, and I would love for you to write these down. So if you don't, go grab a piece of paper and a pen or pencil and write these things down. I want to talk to you about a topic that's, I think, really important to a lot of women, particularly moms. So you guys all know I had a program called Mothers in Tax, and the purpose of the program was really to help women scale faster using tax planning as their main high value offering that they were offering to their clients. And I want to talk about some about why we do that. So the whole purpose behind Mothers in Tax was really to support women, moms in particular, right? So why moms? I always get this question, why moms? And I get a lot of people who say they don't really get it. They don't understand why I'm saying moms. And the reason why I say mom is because I am my own client, right? I am my own student. I want to work with people who are like me, who are moms, who are navigating a very busy life, but at the same time trying to find some amount of financial stability, some amount of financial also trying to have some flexibility in their lives, trying to navigate the kids, but also navigating the business. And it is hard. And so one of the things I can tell you is if you're trying to do that as a mom and also a business owner, especially as a business owner, even if you're working for someone else, it's much more challenging as a business owner. But you have all these things that you have to do outside of work, and then you have the things inside of work, and then it becomes, well, how do I do both of them and make sure I manage so that I'm here and I'm present? Being present to me is very important. And so for me, I've always wanted to make sure that I'm able to be here with the kids. But let's face it, when I first left corporate America and I started and I came home, the very first thing I noticed was, one, we didn't have the financial stability anymore, right? Because there was only one income. The second thing I noticed once I started a business was, wait, whoa, now I'm not making the income that I wanted to make. And so that was really challenging because I now was not making the amount of money that I wanted to be able to make just to be comfortable, not even to replace the income at work at first, just to be comfortable. And so I found that I was working a lot more hours and bringing in a lot less. So if you can relate to this, if you have a business and you can relate to this, let me know in the comments. I forgot to say, if you are joining me, just make sure you say hello. Let me know that you're there. If you're watching this on the replay, also be sure to say replay so I know that you're watching on the replay. And I'm going to be sharing a few things to you with all of you, including some to look for things at the end of today's call. So again, so if you have navigated that, let me know. I've talked to so many people who say they leave their job so they can have more flexibility at home. They want to be home with the kids, but then they find one of two things: financial insecurity, or they find that if they do start a business, not only now are they not making as much, but they're working more hours. If this sounds remotely similar to any one of you, let me know if you have gone through this as well. So that was my story. And so I said, I have to start a business. So I started a business. And then once I started a business, what I found again was that I was making less, but on top of that, I was working more hours. And so I knew I had to make a shift. And so my shift for me was simply, I was going to get into offering higher value service offerings. So some of the things that I did was I tried CFO, tax resolution, and tax planning. CFO requires quite a bit of your time because it means in order for you As a CFO, a really good CFO, you're going to come in and you're going to help take that business to the next level. To be able to do that, you really have to have a good foundational understanding of that business and what's working and what's not. And so that takes a lot of time to be able to build that out and to be successful. The other thing is resolution, right? So when it comes to resolution, that's a lot of back and forth, and that can take a few years. And so for me, I don't like things that linger quite that long. So I prefer to have something much more streamlined and simplified. And so for me, that ended up being tax planning. Now, when it comes to tax planning, the things I'm able to do with tax planning are be able to work less and make more. So people always ask me, what does that look like? You say work less and make more. That's my motto. Yes, we want to work less in our businesses and we want to make more money. How do we actually do that? You're going to work less by actually doing one of three, actually all three of these things. So make sure you have a pen and pencil and write these down. The very first thing is we're going to streamline our services. So what does that mean? That means we're not going to offer a ton of strategy. And we're not going to look at a ton of strategy because we want to streamline on just a few. To become a master at just a few things. So what I traditionally would teach in my Mothers in Tax program is, hey, here are 3 to 5 really great strategies. We're going to focus on these. We're going to learn these inside and out. I want you to know these strategies. I want you to know how to do them so that you can then offer them to the majority of your clients. You're going to be able to offer these strategies. And they're going to have a bigger impact than some of the smaller strategies, right? Some of the other strategies. So there are some strategies, other strategies that you can use, but there are some that are going to have a higher impact. And so I really like to focus on some of those higher impact strategies. So we look at things like, how do you do it? What do you do? How do you implement it? We look at all those pieces. We want to make sure that we can implement it successfully, right? And so you can't do that with 100 different strategies. You can't do that with 1,000 different strategies. And the whole point of the Mothers in Tax program was to simplify, because we as moms, we as women have a lot on our plate. We don't have a lot of time to just sit around and learn a bunch of different strategies. You can, right? Some of us do. Some of us have more time than others. But the purpose was to design the program with moms in mind. So from designing a program with moms in mind, we don't have a lot of time. I need to be able to take these specific strategies, learn them quickly, and then be able to apply them quickly, right? So I can get the value to the clients and be able to charge for that value, right? So that's the first area that we're able to do it. We streamline our services. We streamline them. So a lot of times people will hear me say, if the more services you have, the more challenging it becomes to scale your business. Different people have also different ideas of what scale is. For me, your business is starting to scale. And I say starting if you are starting to make more money. The more you grow, the more things you're going to have to add, right? So as you get bigger, you might have to start adding a team. You might have to start adding bigger, usually a team, automation, and marketing. Those are usually the 3 big things that you're going to have to add. Listen, not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to do that. Let's just be frank. Not everybody wants to do that. Not everybody wants to add a team. Not everybody wants to add automation. Not everybody wants to add marketing. Some of us just want to make a couple $100,000 and live our best life. And so tax planning allows you to do that. And I'm going to give you an example. This is our step, our number 2. So the first thing is streamline. You want to streamline your strategies, streamline your services. And back to the streamline, just really quick. The reason why you streamline services is because the more services you have, the more you have to do. You guys see me right now. I'm doing a live. Guess what? If I offered tax planning and tax resolution and CFO and this and that, guess what? I would have to do more marketing, because the marketing for CFO services looks different than the marketing for tax planning, looks different from the marketing for tax resolution. The language is different. The funnels are different, right? So now I need different funnels. Now I need different processes. Now I need different systems, right? So when I use tax resolution, that's one system. That's totally different from the systems that I use for tax planning. So now you're using different systems, right? You have all these things that you're trying to learn and master when you can literally master this one thing and make multi 6 figures doing it. And I'm going to give you an example right now, and I'm going to show you how. So let's say you have a tax plan client, and I wanted to give you guys a visual, but darn it, my whiteboard is not up yet. I can't wait to get my whiteboard up. But let's say that you have a client right now. You charge that client $150. So write that down for me. $150, right? And we're going to actually, let's say $300. We're going to charge that client $300 for their tax prep. All right. We say they have a business. We charge them $300 for the tax prep. My handwriting is terrible. $300, right? Then let's say we say, oh, you know what? By looking at this client, I see a couple of things. Number one, they want to come to me for tax planning. But one of the things I realize is your bookkeeping is not done, right? There's some issues in your bookkeeping, and I can't rely on those numbers to do my tax planning. Okay, so what happens next? The next thing that we do is then we're going to say, okay, I'll clean up your books. Book cleanup. I'll clean up your books, and we're going to do that for an extra $2,000. So write that down, $2,000. So right now we're at $2,300, right? Then we say, okay, now that your books are cleaned up, I am ready to take a look at your tax planning. So now I'm telling you to take a look at the tax planning. The tax plan is going to start at $2,500. All right, so write that down, $2,500 for the tax planning. And then you say, in addition to the tax planning, I'm going to do the tax plan for you, but I need to also make sure I do the implementation, because if you know how to do implementation, you wouldn't be coming to me for tax planning. So you don't know how to implement it. So I'm going to do your implementation for you. I'm also going to meet with you throughout the year. That needs to be identified, but I'm going to meet with you a few times throughout the year. I'm going to give you some email support, some Slack support, different things, right? And as a result, I'm going to charge you an additional $3,000 to meet with you throughout the year. So you took this one client who was paying you $300 for tax prep, right? And now they're going to pay you $7,800, almost $8,000 for the year to work with you. So we simply took them from $300 client to a $7,800 client. And you might be saying, how would I do that? Listen, first of all, many of us already know more than we think we know. Half of you, not half of you, almost all of you, I can guarantee, if you're not doing tax planning, if you're not charging for it as a separate service offering, I can almost guarantee you that you're still doing tax planning for free. I can almost guarantee it. And so people are always like, well, how? Why? How am I giving tax planning away for free? Let me give you an example. If you are doing, let me know in the comments if you're doing this. If you are doing deductions or credits for your clients of any type, let me know in the comments. Any deductions, any credits, any deductions, not income and expenses. I'm talking about businesses here, because generally when you're talking about smaller size tax savings, you're looking at those who have businesses, right? So if you work with business clients and you're doing deductions, not their income and expenses, which have to be written off, right? You're required to make sure that's on the return properly. I'm saying deductions as in home office deduction. If you're doing that for your clients and not charging for that separately, let me know in the comments. I get almost 100% of people tell me that they do that and they don't charge for it. And I get it, because I used to do the same thing. I didn't charge for it either. I didn't know how to charge for it. I didn't know how to separate it. I didn't know what that looked like. And then I also was like, well, how much am I actually going to save? So what's important is to understand not only that you can do that type of thing and you can charge for it separately in the tax planning, but you can also be able to charge appropriately. You want to charge appropriately for what it is that you're offering. And you want to be able to combine the strategies that you already know, such as home office deduction, right? Most of us know home office, and it's a couple others that we know offhand, but most of us know those and we're just applying them, but we're not doing so in a strategic tax plan. A tax plan should be received completely separate from the tax prep. and it should be charged separate. And so they don't get tax planning without paying you for tax planning. And so there's a whole process to be able to do that. But just like we took that client from $300 to $7,800, you can take your clients from not giving them much value to now you're giving them a lot of value. And so they're not going to mind paying you $700, $7,800. Why? Because you are bringing them value. You are saving them more than $7,800. One, like some of these strategies, just the one strategy implementation by itself is more than that. I do HRA for myself, and I save this year. I actually just looked it up because I was on a call with a student. I do some one-on-one services. Sometimes people reach out to me and ask me to do one-on-one services. So I've been doing one-on-one services with a particular student. And today I looked up my own HRA, and I'm over $8,000 for the year for my family. So that one strategy is going to save us about $8,000 in income that I would not have written off because it wasn't high enough to get the medical deduction on this Schedule A. But now, since I write it off in the business, I get it written off 100% by using the HRA. And so today I had on the call with the one-on-one student, an HRA, the representative, the company that we use, so that they could go over it with them. So not only can they use it in their business, but they're actually going to be using it for clients. So that's one thing I like to do. I have to simplify these things because, listen, as moms, we don't have a lot of time. So we don't have a lot of time. You don't have time to go say, I'm going to go, let me go find some representative who can help me with an HRA, not only to understand it, but how does it go on the return? How does all of it work? What are all the processes? Let me go find someone to do that. No, we'll show you exactly what the strategy is, how it works, how it goes on the return. We'll give you all that information. But on top of that, we're going to assist you with having the context that you need so you can actually implement it. You can literally implement it starting today. Today. So my son who has braces, the dentist, they covered a certain amount, which wasn't that much, but I had to cover a few thousand out of pocket, like 2,500 out of pocket. So I sent all that through my HRA. And a lot of people say, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to set it up. I'm going to do it on my own. And they just mess themselves up. So, like I said, the second thing we do is we want to make sure that we can make more and work less. So you went from having that $300 tax prep to the $7,800 client that did the books cleaned up, tax planning. They did the tax prep and the consulting throughout the year. That's bringing that client value because now that their books are cleaned up, guess what? They can apply for things to get like business credit. They can't do that without having their books cleaned up. They can do tax planning, and the tax planning is going to save them more than $7,800, right? And they can do tax planning, which they couldn't do before. They can do, so they went from just having to pay for a service with no real benefit to now having these other services in place that are going to give them great benefit. And so that's how you start making more and working less. And so I literally went through an example like this with the one-on-one student that I was meeting with today, because they have a specific client that they're working with. And I'm like, oh yeah, it was this simple. You're doing tax prep. They already needed cleanup. She already was charging for that. Okay, so now they need the tax plan piece, and now they need the ongoing consultant piece. And this is what that's going to look like. And this is how you're going to meet with them. And this is these are the what's the word? These are like the goals that we're going to set and we're going to meet for those clients. This is what it's going to look like. And so we go through that together. And so for me and her, over the last 2 weeks, she's learned 2 different strategies now. And she has those down. Like she actually met with the representative today to go over the second strategy. So next week, we're going to be looking at how we can implement some of these strategies on her in her business, because now we have 2 strategies that she can actually use in her own business. So that's the first thing. In itself, she's going to save that money in her own business, right? So that's how we start making less and making more. Last week, I talked about buying your time back. So when you are a business owner, you have to buy your time back. A lot of us say we don't want to be super busy in our business, but here's the reality. If you're running a business, you're going to be somewhat busy. And so once you finish a full day of work and those kids come home, the whole point of you having a business so that you would have the flexibility needed so that you could be there for the kids, help them with their homework and do those sorts of things, right? But if you're mentally drained, you're not going to have what you need to pour into the kids. So by streamlining your services, by being able to make more and work less, it allows you to be able to now push forward and be able to do some of the things that you couldn't do before. And the way you do that is you start buying back your time. So what does that look like? You start replacing yourself in as many ways as you can. So I use my money to replace myself in the cleaning. Right now, we just moved. And so I haven't hired a cleaner yet, but I also realize my kids are getting older and they're at the point where they need to start learning how to clean. And so I will be bringing my cleaner back soon. Don't worry. But one of the ways I buy my time back is by hiring a cleaner. And I'm not saying that as like, hey, look at me, I have a cleaner. All of you should have a cleaner. I want you to get one. I want you to get one, sis. I want you to get a cleaner. I want you to get someone. I want you to get someone who can purchase that they'll send you meals, HelloFresh, any of them. They'll send you meals so that you don't have to prepare all your meals every week. Because let's face it, when you leave your work and you're doing this all day long, you are tired. You don't want to go home. Or I work from home, right? I don't want to leave this room, leave this office and go into the other room and go spend an hour cooking. I don't want to do that. And honestly, I don't have the time. My kids are busy. My husband's busy. Like, I don't have the time to do that, right? And so what do? I am, as my shirt says, y'all can't see it. It says lead. It says lead as if you're like as if lives depend on it, which it does. This is a shirt for praise and worship, but that's a different conversation. But as I'm leading by example, I bring in a cleaner because it buys me back my time. It takes hours to clean a house, especially with 4 boys in it. 6 people that live here, 4 boys. Y'all can only imagine. These kids are cleaning the house pretty much every day. They're straightening up every day. We do a deep clean every weekend. Every weekend. But guess what? Having a cleaner come in and deep clean, that's going to save us a few hours every week. It takes us at least 2 hours every week. And that's with 5 of us spread out in different rooms cleaning. And then me and my sister, who helps me with the kids, we go behind them and make sure that they're doing it correctly. It takes us 2 hours, 2 exhausting hours every week. But guess what? When I hired a cleaner, she would come in. It took her 4 hours. She would clean the whole house. House was done. Baseboards done. Walls wiped down. Doors wiped. Everything was wiped down. I mean, how many of you could actually use a cleaner? Let me know in the comments. How many of you could use a cleaner? I love my cleaner. And so that's one of the ways I buy back my time. Another way I've started buying back my time is when we go to spend time with my husband, guess what? We're able to eat there, but there's so much food for the athletes. They have so much food that we can take every week. So we bring fruits, vegetables, chicken breasts, salmon. We bring we try to stick to the really healthy things, broccoli, vegetables, but we'll bring a lot of the meats and fruits and vegetables. We'll bring those home and then just warm up some vegetables and stuff on the side. And then that becomes our meal. Why? Because I'm buying back my time. I've decided to take part of my time and have a business. And so with my free time, the last thing I want to do, and I don't really have the time, right? Because the time I would have taken to cook and to clean and do those things, guess what? I'm now putting that time towards a business to grow the business. So as I'm growing the business, I don't have the same time available. And I don't want to burn myself out, right? The reason we start the businesses is to free us up so we can spend more time with our kids, with our family, to do the things we want to do, to travel, all of the things that we want to do. That's why we start the business. And so what you have to do is start buying back your time. You don't want to leave here and then go have to still do those things. So we're working less in the business. We're making more. So it frees up time. I usually try to finish my day by 3 o'clock because I know my kids are going to be home about 4. And I want to make sure that I have time to unwind for when they come in the door. And that doesn't always work. So I am grateful that I have my sister who helps me with the kids, because I would not be able to do this on my own. I couldn't do this on my own. And that's just a fact. So the thing I want you to know is, number one, let's go back to the things, how we're able to make work less and make more in our businesses, is we streamline our services. We don't offer a bunch of services. And even in those services, like we offer tax planning strategies, we're not offering 50 million tax planning strategies. Not the ones that you have to try and implement and figure out how they work. That's not a good plan. That's not a good plan, sis. Because when you do that, what ends up happening is you then you're trying to learn the ins and outs of every strategy. By mastering a few, you actually end up spending a lot less time, because now you only have these few strategies and you know them inside and out. And you can use those same strategies because they have a big impact on multiple people across multiple industries. And if nothing else, you can use them in your own business and save yourself money in your own business. And so that's why we do the tax planning. That's why we offer tax planning as a service offering. That's why. So the next thing is, that's the second thing. The third thing is simplifying your processes. So we talked about streamlining them, but then we want to simplify them. So what does simplify look like? How does that differ from streamlining? So when you streamline, let's say you have multiple things like we were talking about. We have multiple services, and we say, okay, we're going to streamline these services. We're going to focus on like this one service, this one thing, and kind of cut out the other stuff. But when you simplify it, is like, if you have this massive process where we do this and this and this, and now we're going to simplify the process so the process becomes easier, start to finish, not only for you, but also for your clients. If they have a simpler process, they are more likely to be able to walk through that process and close. If the process isn't simple, they're not going to make it through. They're not going to make it through the process. So let me give you an example. My partner and I, a lot of you know that we have a advanced tax planning course as well. Ryan Foncannon and I have an advanced tax planning course. That course is nothing like the Mothers in Tax course. The Mothers in Tax course is meant to be simplified, streamlined. It's meant to help you fast track it to 6 figures in 6 months. That's the purpose of Mothers in Tax, right? Very simplified process, because it's designed with moms in mind who don't have a lot of time. So it's meant to be very simple. The advanced tax planning course, on the other hand, is not the same. Those strategies are huge impact. I'm saying 6 figures type of impact in terms of tax savings a year, 7 figures a year, like huge impact. But they also require a lot of time just to even understand the foundational part of it for you to be able to implement on your clients. It requires a lot. And so for the advanced stuff, we absolutely have a whole different process. But part of the process that we had initially was we had this long questionnaire. And the questionnaire helps us to understand the client. So we understood, what are all the things that we need to know about the client? Like, what are your goals? What's this? Do you have a trust? Do you have all these questions? Is a lot of questions. And so what was happening was clients they would get overwhelmed with the amount of questions. They would never fill out the form and they just wouldn't move forward. So what we did was we changed the process. We simplified it to ask a few simple questions so that we could get them a win up front. And then we moved the longer questionnaire to the back end. So after we get them a win, then let's find out, do you have this? Do you have that? Do you have an estate plan? Do you have a trust? Do you have this? So we ask them all these other things that we need to know so that we can build out an even bigger plan. But that plan is not coming until we first got them a win. And those wins are usually 6 figures or more in terms of savings, tax planning savings. So they're much more receptive at that point to, because now they see how it works, right? People are skeptical. They've never heard of some of this stuff before. And so now they're like, oh, I get it. I see this works. I see how it works. I'm making money from it. Like, they get all the components of it. So now on the back end, they're like, okay, great. Now that I understand that, I'll fill out this form. but they already see how it works. And so they don't mind putting in the extra time because they realize and recognize that it works and they trust us. We built that relationship now. They trust us. So we had to simplify that process because the way it was originally designed, clients were not moving forward. They weren't moving forward. And so at all, they just were not answering those questions. And so what we had to do was we had to go back in and redo it. So what I'm telling you is you have to simplify your processes. If your processes are too complicated, no one's going to move forward with the process. Why would anybody move forward with the process if it's overcomplicated in the beginning? Why would anybody move forward with the process if they're like, well, you can talk to me on the phone, we can schedule a call, but you have to go through all these channels before you can ever get on a call with me? People want tangibility, especially after the whole COVID thing. A lot of people, they want to hop on a call with you. A lot of people want to see your face. A lot of people want to just have a discussion with you. A lot of people they want to have that tangibility. And so if you can minimize your process and simplify your process, then that's going to allow you to be able to close faster and be able to make more money as you work less. So simplification not only makes it easier for you, but it makes it easier for your client. So how do you simplify your processes? You have to understand what the processes are and then automate where you can when you're ready. And the reason I say when you're ready, because automation generally costs money. So you can start, if you're someone who's just getting started, start with the free stuff. I'm going to just be honest with you. Start with the free stuff. When I started with all the free things. Yes, I could use different systems to automate like the onboarding process, but I also didn't have the money to do that. So what I did was as I made money, I would take a certain amount, put it to the side and say, okay, I'm going to use that to now help me start getting systems that are going to help me automate this process. And I kept doing that until I had a fully automated process. And so one of the things I do teach when I teach the Mothers in Tax program is, or when I was teaching the Mothers in Tax program, one of the things we taught was, listen, when you're trying to when you're getting started for the first time, you can move to automated if you have the funds, but if you don't, just stay with the manual stuff. Yes, it's going to take more time. So what you're exchanging is time for money. But in the beginning, a lot of us have more time than we have money. As moms, we don't. So I actually was very quick to, as I made money, a certain amount went to the side so I could automate because I didn't have a lot of time and I didn't have a lot of money starting. Now, I have more money than I have more time. So I'm going to automate as much as I can. And it's worth it to automate because, okay, so let's say that you have to send out, let's say for your business, you're doing some marketing and stuff. You're trying to get yourself out there. You're like, okay, I need to create a Google ad. I need to do like 3 emails for this week. I need to do send out a few text messages. I need to do some social media posts. I need to get on this new social media platform. I need to do all these things. Okay, you could spend time doing that, but you could also hire somebody to do that, which is going to cost a little bit more, or you could create an automated process. So what that does is instead of hiring somebody who, depending on where you get them, can be, $20 an hour, up to $50 an hour. If you're getting some people overseas, sometimes you can get them for like $10 an hour, even less. And a lot of them do really, really great work. So, but let's say instead of paying somebody that, you can literally just say, okay, I figured out an automated process and here's my automated process it's going to automatically send these things out. And so here it's done. I'm going to set it up. It's going to automatically go out and it's going to save you the cost of having to hire a person. But even that's going to only last for so long. So at every step, you have to ask yourself, do I want to go bigger? Do I want to go bigger? Because a lot of us, again, we get into this so we have the flexibility, right? And we have the money and we have all of these things for our families. But then we become so consumed in our businesses that the whole reason we started the business becomes secondary to the growth. And you got to ask yourself, is that where you want to be? Some people do. Some people don't. Some people say, "Hey, I want to make a couple 100,000. That's it. I'm feeling good." And I don't want to make more than that because making more than that means I'm going to be more busy. Um, yeah, so a lot of people are at that place where like, I need more money in order to move forward. So my question to you is, that was the question. Someone said that that's where they're at. So my question to you is, um, by that, are you saying you're ready to hire or you're looking to maybe automate some stuff? Because the automation is going to be cheaper, right? I look at it as a step ladder of like, let's start with the manual stuff, then let's move to automated stuff, and then let's move to the hiring stage. That's how I do it, because the automation is going to be cheaper, but it's still going to be certain things on you because you're still running all the pieces, right? Then but it also gives you the opportunity to learn those things, because you have to learn them before you can hire somebody and say, hey, I need you to do this, and this, right? You have to know how to do it. You got to know how to do it. You ever start a job and they was like, yeah, you can here's this position, but I'm not going to give you any guidance. I'm not going to give you any direction on what to do or how to do. I'm gonna just start. No one really starts a business like that, right? No one's going to hire anybody and just say, here, you got to give them guidelines. You got to tell them what they need to do. They need benchmarkers to see if they're reaching certain goals and things like that. That's what I was trying to say earlier too, benchmarks. So you have to have certain things in place so that you can actually help them to be successful in your company. And so if you don't know how to do it, it makes it difficult for them to come in and do it. And then some people are like, well, why not just hire somebody who does it? Because the reality is, a lot of us, if we're just starting out, we have more time than we have money. So yes, I can hire somebody who's very experienced, but to hire somebody who's very experienced and can just come in and do it and show me how to do it is also very expensive. And so a lot of us don't have the money to be able to do that. And so you have to stick with what you're able to do. That means in the beginning, you're going to probably be doing things manually. Then over time, as you get better at it, you can start automating part of the process. And then you're going to get to the point where it's like, okay, I'm now automated. The next step is to be able to hire. Right. And then you start replacing yourself, right? We talk about replacing ourselves in our business. So we start replacing ourselves in our business, but like literally you can replace yourself in your business, or like you don't even have to do the day to day. Those are going to be your bigger businesses, but you have to ask yourself, do you want to even get to that point? And I'll be honest, a lot of people say like the new thing is I want to hit $1 million. I'm saying the new thing, I'm talking to myself, because that was my goal before. And not to say it's not now, but if I'm going to hit $1 million, I have to do so in a way that is in alignment with my mission and vision. So if you don't have like things like a mission and vision in your business, I'm telling you, you're going to feel scatterbrained. You have to have a mission, because you're going to have coaches. You're going to have so many people telling you to do this, do that, do this, do that. If you have to have your own vision of what it's going to look like, right? A great Bible verse is, without a vision, people perish. So in real life, true story, I got away from my mission and I got away from my vision this past year, y'all. And I'm somewhere that I'm just like, how did I even get here? This is not at all what I anticipated. And so now I'm actually doing the work to go back to where I should have been all along, because that's where that's where I'm supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be where I'm at now. And so it actually felt uncomfortable this past year because I was not where I was supposed to be. Someone asked a question, I think it was Aaron, who said, since I don't have experience running a business, I'm always under the impression that we have to invest money in marketing first. So there are two ways that you can really do marketing. There's the organic marketing, there's paid marketing. So organic marketing is going to be time. It's going to be stuff like this. You're going to be doing videos. You're going to be doing social media posts. You're going to be going to events in person, right? You're going to be doing all of those things to build an audience, right? So you connect with people. There are specific things that you want to do on the back end to do the organic marketing. Organic marketing, y'all, I'm not going to lie to you, is tough. It is time consuming. And so again, this is why it's important to have a mission and vision, because you have to understand, what do you want your business to look like? You have to know what you want the end to look like before you even get to the beginning. You got to know what you want the end to look like. So if you know at the end, I want to make sure for all the important things for my kids, I'm there. Well, that business is going to look very different for someone who says, you know what? I want to be in the moment, but I can also just have a nanny. A nanny can do it. Or I can have other supports. It doesn't have to be me per se. I'm okay with focusing more on the business and a little less on the family. So you have to first understand that dynamic. But you don't have to start spending money with marketing. So I always give the story of how I went from, I used to say 3,000 to 30,000 in 90 days. It was 3,000 to 30,000 in 90 days, but I had a partner. So my portion that I was taking of the 3,000 was 1,500. When I hit the 30,000, a lot of that was just under me and not with my partner. So most of that 30,000 was just mine to take home. But when I was in that situation, I didn't do any marketing. That dog is she ignorant out here, yelling, barking at people. But when I did that, I wasn't doing any marketing. I wasn't doing any paid marketing. I was just doing like stuff like this. Videos, social media posts, stuff like that, sending out emails, all those types of things. Y'all want to start seeing a lot more from me, simply because I'm going to have a team that's supporting me to do a lot of those things. And so I did have a team, but one of my favorite team members had to leave. She just want to be home full time as a mom, and that's just the reality. Some people just want to be home. She didn't want to have a business anymore, and I totally support that, and I supported her in that decision. But yeah, back to what I was talking about. But yeah, before, when I was doing that 30,000 a month, I didn't have any paid marketing. So it really depends on what it is that you're trying to achieve. Right now, Ryan and I, we don't have any paid marketing. We're literally working on a case right now that's a 7-figure case, like 7-figure as in 7-figure take home for us for a tax plan. So the tax plan savings are like almost 30 million. So it's a 7-figure deal for us if we close it. Prayers that we will close it, right? Prayers and fingers crossed, toes crossed, everything crossed. But yeah, we don't really do any marketing. So it really just depends on what you're trying to do. If you are trying to stay streamlined so that you can grow the business, I highly recommend marketing, ads. Do you have to start with that first? No. And I highly recommend you don't start with it first. Do not start with that first, because if you don't understand what you're implementing and you don't have the systems and the processes and all those things to handle the marketing that comes in, number one, you're going to start building a bad name for yourself. So I highly recommend that you don't do that. It's kind of like putting the cart before the horse. The second thing that happens when you do marketing too soon is you don't yet understand what your audience wants. And so you may be putting the wrong message out there to your audience. And so if you're putting the wrong message out to your audience, then you're going to draw in the wrong people. So you're going to be spending all this money for ads that aren't going to be effective and are not going to make you money. So you don't want to do that. I recommend that you need to learn the strategies first. You need to learn your processes. You need to have a good process down. You need to have those things down. You can make 6 figures on the side. And I know that probably sounds bad because everybody's like, don't turn your side hustle into like your main thing. You can also do that. But I've had 6-figure side hustles. It was a side hustle on the side of my main job. Tax planning is one of those things that will allow you to have it as a side hustle and do 6 figures. I just went over a case with y'all, an example with you guys of a client that went from $300 in 12 months to $7,800 in 12 months. You only need 12 of those. So if you look through your clients right now who have businesses and outlines, which ones can I start doing some of these things with? You will find that there are multiple ones. Now, some of them you're going to find they're not going to want to pay you more, and that's okay. You're going to have to decide how long you want to work with them. But if you start telling people, I do tax planning, I help you save money on your taxes. On average, I'm helping people save X amount of money on their taxes. Guess what? You're going to be known as a tax person, as a tax planning person. And so what's going to end up happening is they're going to come and they're going to send other people. And so you end up having all of these people. You end up having all these people who will actually support you and help you and as clients, because they know that you're going to save them money on their taxes, and the amount you're going to save them is going to far outweigh the amount that you're going to charge. So it becomes a no-brainer. The thing I will tell you is that you have to put yourself in the game. So if you don't have a business and you keep saying, you know what, I'm going to wait, I'm going to start when I'm going to wait until this happens. I'm going to wait until I'm in a better position. I'm going to wait until my kids get a little older. I'm going to wait. Listen, the longer you put it off, the more time it's taking for you to get to where you want to be in the business. If I was in a place when I started my business, listen, I had to start. I'm just keeping it 100. I had to start a business. At the time, I didn't really have the funds to not start a business. It was necessary for me to start a business because things were so tight. So I had to start a business. And that's not the same. At the time, my husband was doing 6 figures, which is crazy. People always say, like, what were y'all doing with the money then? Listen, my husband's a teacher. So he's a teacher in New Jersey. So they have pensions. They have all this stuff that comes out of his check. Great things, right? Because it's going to set him up for the future and set us up for the future. But probably half of his check was going to benefits and retirement and all of those things. So you thinking half of $100,000 or 6 figures, I mean, don't forget the taxes and stuff, right? So that's not a lot for a family to live off of. So that's why I had to start a business. But my husband was very supportive and he pushed me out there and he said, listen, give 100%, give yourself 6 months, see how you do. If you hate it, it's not working, then just, close it back down. During that time, I learned so much that I was able to scale. But one of the things I did early on was I took a course, which actually transformed how I thought about my business and what I needed to do. Because I started where most people start. I started with tax prep and bookkeeping. Those are transactional services. And so what that means is you're going to be really busy and you're not going to make a lot of money. I was talking to someone last year who had about 200 clients, roughly, and they were making like $30,000 during the tax season, working crazy hours. I said, no, ma'am, that's not it. Like if someone told you had to work around the clock, I mean, think about it. If someone told you had to work 12 hours, 16 hours a week, and you were going to make $30,000 a year, what would you say? The reality is, if you don't know how to build a 6-figure business, you have to get under someone who does, because otherwise you're going to be spinning your wheels. You're going to be doing things that have already been figured out. And so for me, I'm always under coaches. I'm always under different coaches. I do training every year. And I think that's very important because they're going to know some things that I don't know. It just makes it easier. Again, my whole mission is to get to where I'm trying to go faster, scale faster, the most easiest way that I can. And so that's what I really want for you all. I want you to be able to scale faster, hit 6 figures, in the easiest way possible. I want you to be able to work less and make more. I want you to be able to spend more time with your kids. I want you to be able to go on the dream vacations and live the dream, whatever that dream looks like for you. But to do that, you have to know what you got to know some things that you don't know. And there's a lot you don't know if you've never been there before. And so I'm not here to show everybody everything. What I am here to do is help people understand tax planning, because through tax planning, you can vastly, vastly, vastly reduce the amount of hours that you work, and you can also flatten out your cash flows, which means you're going to make money all year. It's not just during tax season. I didn't do a single tax return last year or this past year. I didn't do any the year before either. I didn't even do my own. I have my mom do mine. She's an EA. So I don't do taxes. I don't do bookkeeping. Everything I do is around teaching and coaching. Why? Because I want to be able to see other moms get a seat at the table. I want to be able to see other moms be able to have successful businesses without having to compromise the time with their kids. I want to be able to see that. And so I create spaces for them to be able to do that. And that's really important to me. So that's one of the things. I also want to be able to see women of color do that, because we don't always get the opportunities. And some people hate that I say that, but it's the truth. It's the truth. We don't always get the same opportunities. And so I like to make sure that I'm creating spaces and safe spaces to be able to come and ask the stupid questions. The client I was talking to you guys about today, been doing some one-on-one with, she was saying, this works great that I can actually sit and talk to you one-on-one, because when I have stupid questions, I can ask those questions and I don't feel stupid because it's just me and you on the call. But she wouldn't want to ask some of the same questions. She was in a group setting. I get it. A lot of people are like that. But also, you just learn at a faster pace. You just learn things at a faster pace. So for a lot of reasons, that's also really good. But when you can't do group setting, you can always still learn in a group setting. And so, yeah. So the thing I want to say, because it's almost 1 o'clock, I've been here for almost an hour. So the thing I want to say is, I'm going to have an announcement tonight. So if you're not on my wait list, I want you to get on my wait list, because I'm going to send out an email. And I'm also going to send out some posts. And I don't want to share what it is. I don't want to share what it is just yet, but I'm going to have an announcement that comes out tonight. And I want you to take part in what's coming up. So if you are already not on my wait list, if you're not on my list, I want you to get on. I actually was supposed to have something for you guys today so that you could get on there, but that link is not yet ready. Nonetheless, check your emails later on this evening, probably around, I would say maybe 8 or 9. Check your emails, because I'm going to have just some information that I want to give to you so that you can I can't say yet. I just can't say yet. I'm already saying too much. All right, give me a second. I'm just trying to see if I can find the link for you guys. Okay, so the easiest way to get on it is you go to Shanta Thomas, just my name, shantathomas.com. At the very top, there is a mailing list, join now button. Just click that button and it will take you to my mailing list. If you are not, if you can't find it, again, it's Shanta, SHONTA, Thomas.com. Yep, shantathomas.com. Shalonda, I'm going to try to type it in here actually. And for those who see me looking down, it's because I'm actually trying to do it on my phone too, because it doesn't show me on the computer. Shanta, wait a minute. No, Shanta Thomas. Okay. Shanta Thomas. Just Shanta Thomas. Shanta, Shon, like Nancy, T like Tom, A Thomas. I just put it in the comments. So let me know if you see it. ShantaThomas.com. On Facebook, I put it in the comments. But yeah, get on my email list. And I have a little announcement for you guys. But I want to see other businesses grow. I want to be able to see others be able to work less and make more. That is my motto. So if you hear anybody else use it, it's copyright infringement. Also, Mothers in Tax, for those who don't know, the Mothers in Tax was actually trademarked this year. And I have my trademark. I don't know where she's at. I'm going to hang it up so you guys can see it, but I have my trademark. There's my 6-figure award. Hold on, lean this way. Y'all, you see that music note is I took bass guitar lessons. I did a 6-figure tax planning business. Awesome. I look forward to sharing with you tonight, Shalonda. So I took bass guitar lessons as I did a 6-figure tax planning business on the side when I was CFO for another company. That other taller one here, let me see, this way, right there. This one, the big tall one, I got that from TSP. Again, a 6-figure award from just building on the side. Next to nothing. And the little one that's my husband's award. He's a coach too, and it's a leadership award. So when I say, y'all, I was doing 30,000 a week and working 30 hours a week. I don't know. I feel like that doesn't excite people the way it should. You can literally do like 20,000 a week doing 20 hours a week with tax planning. And so one of the things I have endeavored to do this year is to make sure that I've actually streamlined my processes when it comes to tax planning, because I want to make sure people can learn the content like this. They want to learn content like this. Before tax season, you need to have the ins and outs. And guess what? When people say that you can do different strategies that come up, like, hey, you can go, buy a dinosaur and write it off. People just say all kinds of stuff. You can actually look it up, and I'll show you exactly how to look it up so you know if that's the case. But we're not actually going to do that. We're not actually going to roll that out until what are we talking about? We're not going to roll that part out until after tax season, because I told you I'm really big on understanding and simplifying the process, right? So that means when it comes to specific tax planning strategies, when I teach, I like to focus on a few basic strategies that have a bigger impact. So I want to focus on strategies that might save a client $10,000 in income, that might be $2,000 or $3,000 on the return. Whatever the case is, we got to go over that and see what that looks like. In terms of analysis, we analyze it for each client, but we make sure that we get really good at a few strategies before we ever start talking about adding more. And then once you kind of get good there, the next step really is to do some one-on-one, work with someone one-on-one. And then once you get good there, then you probably want to do advanced. Because up there, that's where the big boys at. And that's a lot of work. That's a lot of work. But you need to have a really good grasp of like offering it at this level first. So does anyone have any questions? I know I talked a lot. I talk a lot anyway, but I'm really excited about the announcement that's coming out tonight. So just stay tuned. I would probably say anticipate about 8:00 Eastern. Anyone have questions? And just in case, if you didn't see it, I'm going to put it on the banner real quick. So www. All right. So www.shantathomas.com. That's how you can find me. Network marketers. I like that one. Ready for a class. My niche is network marketers. Awesome. Shalonda, I'm going to message you after this call on Facebook. So give me like a couple minutes. I'm going to message you. But I'm really excited, y'all. We have a surprise. So you're welcome. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them. Again, if you're watching this on replay, let me know. And if you have any questions or comments, feel free to inbox me. I would love to chat with you about whatever's going on, and just how we can help you scale. I want to be able to see more women, more moms, more women of color scaling their business and offering things like tax planning. I have some great contacts if you're looking at doing tax resolution. I have some what do you call them? They're not partnerships, but they're like I can't think of the name, but I have some people that I can refer you to if you're looking like for something that we don't offer. But let me tell you, if you're trying to work less and make more, nothing's going to allow you to do that more easily than tax planning. I promise you. I have done all of them. CFO, tax resolution, tax planning. I've done them all. And nothing allows you to get there more easily than tax planning. And the longer you're working in the field, the better you get, the easier it becomes. I told you guys I'm working on a 7-figure tax plan right now. 7 figures, as in 7 figures that will go in my pocket from outlining the plan, creating some consulting, but also helping them build wealth. It's 7 figures. And their tax plan savings alone are like, it's close to 30. Well, maybe it's 24 million. 24 million. And just the savings, the tax savings. That doesn't include the wealth building that we're doing for them, just the savings. So you can have those type of clients, but you got to build up to that. That's not something you want to start with. Absolutely not. So that's all, y'all. I could talk all day because I love tax planning. I love what I do. And I'm super excited because I have some announcements coming out tonight. Any mothers in tax or former mothers in tax students, if you did not receive an email from me, check your spam. I've been sending you guys emails over the last week, and we actually have a private meeting tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. And then this announcement is going to be made after that meeting. They kind of tie in together somewhat, but I have a special announcement for you guys that's at 7 o'clock tonight Eastern. So I would love to see you there. Everyone else, you will hear from me at 8 o'clock. And yeah, just super excited. Cannot wait to talk to some of you through Messenger. So I would love for you to reach out to me. And that's it. I hope you have an amazing day. And go out, go tax plan. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.